So you probably had some good experience spending some time on the floor there as a as a non-participant. Tell me what that was like. Do you have any good stories of your time just kind of watching what was going on in the pitch down there?
Well, my first walk onto the floor, I think, is most memorable, just simply because it was just so incredibly chaotic. And I worked from home a lot, so I would basically go into the office, and the office was actually just, one of the traders had an office on the 12th floor. And like every week or every couple of weeks, I would go into the office and we would have a meeting or whatever. And I went into his office, and his secretary was there, and she says, "Oh, Ray needs to see you on the floor right away." And I was just like, "What do you mean on the floor?" And she hands me a mustard colored jacket with a little tag on it, and she says, "Just throw this on, go onto the floor. There's a problem with the site," or she didn't really know, and she was just like, you need to find him. And I'd never been on the floor, and so she throws this coat on me, and, I get in the elevator and I get off, and she's like, "Oh, you don't worry about it. Just swipe the card and, smile at the guard and blah, blah, blah." I says, "Well, how will I find him?" She says, "Oh, well, just ask for him. If you just go in the door, you're going to want to go to the right." And she was trying to explain, "Oh, there's a pit here, and you just go in there, and he stands on the top steps, so just tap him on the shoulder." And of course, I walk in, and it was just an explosion. It was just like, what? I'm supposed to find who? Yeah, there was like thousands of people in there. And so that was my first experience.
Was that, what year was that?
Probably like 97.
So again,
maybe 97.
You're coming down there at a time totally when the pitch dominated the trade, as you said.
Yeah.
There was some computer trading going on, but the majority, I'd say 90% of it still at that point was done down in the pits. So
absolutely, yeah.
And I'd spent some time, with a firm there in Chicago at the same time, and not trading myself on the floor, but I had the same experience walking down to those floors in Chicago, the various floors, and I've been on all the old exchanges there in Chicago. And it is, it's not it doesn't exist that way today, at least not most of the time. Probably like you and I saw in the 90s. And so it's hard to believe that only 10 years ago. So I'm curious, again, back in that, so you're down there for the first time, let's call it 97. Yep. Do you get the bug? Is it that,
No. I didn't, there was no bug for me. I was just scared to death. And I was just like, for me, you hear all types of different stories, and we have a couple of them in the film, where people, just talk about like instantaneously realizing this is where I need to be, and everything else is just whatever I'm doing. I was talking to someone who was going to law school, and just different people, and they're like, I dropped everything and boom, this is where I had to be. Right. And I can completely understand that, but it wasn't that's not how it happened for me. It was more for me, I was just completely, just all of my senses were overloaded, and I was just like, wow,
right. So when you say that, I always find that interesting because you're an artist, you're creative. So I'm always curious. You're seeing sensory overload, and I could definitely see that for a lot of people. But I would think in a lot of ways, as an artist, you would be somewhat intrigued, inspired, enlightened by
absolutely.
Such an experience. Yeah.
Absolutely, and that's ultimately why I wanted to make the film.
Right.
Because I can appreciate it without wanting to necessarily participate.
Right.
I thought it was an absolutely, we all see the iconic kind of imagery. I think there was a McDonald's commercial in the 80s or the 90s, and there were I remember watching Ferris Bueller's Day Off when Cameron goes up to the window and he starts making the fake hand signals and stuff. You see that and your jaw drops, and you're just like, what are they doing? And then to see it live, there's no substitute. So from that perspective, absolutely, it was amazing. So did I had already kind of, before I walked in there, I understood the risk. I understood that, there were big days, big up days and big down days. And, I just didn't feel comfortable, putting that kind of risk online.